stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I am your host this morning and every morning. This is the last broadcast that we will do on 107.1 News Talk. The station, as you know, is being sold off to some other folks, and they are taking possession as of midnight tonight. And so today, this broadcast and our repeat broadcast at 8 to 9 tonight will be our last time broadcasting on this station. So in light of that, I want to make sure that I'm giving you folks information on where you can continue to pick up AVN and how we can continue to work together to fight for the liberty and restoration of America. So for the record, there's going to be a breakfast this morning at Skillet's Restaurant in West Plains at about 9:30 or so. If you'd like to come by and join us, we're going to get there, get some coffee, get some food if you're interested in it, good conversation. If you don't want to eat or you've already had your breakfast or whatever, that's fine. You can just come by and join us and say hi and shake some hands and meet some other patriots. Also, let me just remind you that on the 7th, August 7th, that is next Wednesday, there at between 5 and 7 p.m., there is a group of us meeting at Pizza Hut on Porter Wagoner Boulevard in West Plains. And Pizza Hut has been gracious enough to run a fundraiser program for us for the studio that we're developing. And basically, a percentage of the proceeds will be donated back to the show. I think it's 10% of the night's proceeds for that 5 to 7 window. So please feel free to come by and join us. And I'll be there, of course, and I'll like a chance to get to meet you and shake hands and kind of get to know you a little bit better on a one-on-one level. You know, it's interesting because here I know I'm talking to thousands of people, but I don't hear thousands of people talking back to me at the same time. So sometimes it's nice to put names and faces and voices that I hear on my phone calls to a face. So, I do want to make a couple of, points about what's gone on here and what America's Voice has done in this community. And I'm not one of those self-aggrandizement guys, and I don't need a lot of patting on the back and that kind of thing. But I have had a lot of people who have said things to me like, you've made a difference in this community and in our area in the sense that we've started the conversation that America needs to have with itself. And we've opened people's eyes, opened their minds, opened their hearts, and tried to bring a level of awareness to this community. And those patriots out there who are, quite frankly, just thirsting and hungering for truth in an empire of lies. We know where our nation's headed. Those of you who listen to this program on a routine basis, I don't gild the lily. I don't hold it back. I'm not real politically correct. I'm not doing the stuff that most of the radio hosts are doing out there, which is just generally talking about what's going on, but not offering solutions. We want solutions. And we can chatter about it all we want. But if that doesn't come with action or a plan, well, then it's just idle talk, right? So, in line with that, our mantra and our goal have been to provide not only education and information, but also to funnel our energy and our efforts into a plan that will necessarily have an effect on that stuff. Now, I get it. A lot of these things that are going on with us right now in our nation are outside of the scope of our ability to influence. But I got to tell you that we have made major impact in a lot of ways. We have had information that we have imparted to our listeners that have made folks stand up and take notice about things like the Second Amendment Preservation Act that was passed in the House, the Anti-Agenda 21 bill, granted the governor vetoed both of those events. Doesn't make any difference because we're going to override that veto. And you're going to demand your representatives override that veto. That's the activity part, right? We've also had, I think, a significant hand in educating and making our communities aware, both here in Missouri and in Arkansas, about the Blue Way. And, you know, I broke that story quite some time ago, and no one else was talking about it. And I'm not trying to give myself a pat on the back or anything, but no one had mentioned the Blue Way. I didn't see it in newsletters. I didn't see it in any kind of official publication, propaganda or otherwise. I didn't hear anybody else talking about it on news programs. It wasn't on any of the TV stations. Nobody was talking about it. And I found out about it, and I found out about it late. I mean, it wasn't until April that I found out about it. Or actually May, excuse me. And so when I found out about it, I broke that news on this show. And, you know, I'm only one piece of a huge puzzle. The property rights coalitions, the folks at Secure Arkansas, Jeannie Burlsworth and Mike Slack and Doreen Hannes and Bob Parker and Ike Skelton and those guys, they were so influential in this that they, you know, in comparison, what I did was just a voice, you know, announcing it. But their efforts were the ones that really made the difference. But you see, that's how grassroots works. We need people to play different roles, to be leaders in their community, to be leaders of our state, leaders in our nation. And not everybody can be a leader, and not everybody can have a voice on the radio to be the voice crying from the rooftops. I'm the Paul Revere. And that's okay. I'm cool with that role. I like it. I'm good at it. I get it. And that's great. But I got to tell you, the warriors and the soldiers who were out there beating the streets, sitting on these conference calls at night with us, those guys really were the ones who, and none of them got mentioned, by the way, at that hearing the other day. Not a single one of them. The only group they gave any credit to was Voice of the Ozarks. And I'm not taking away anything from Jerry King and his group. But I got to tell you, they were the minority, not the majority. The majority were all these groups who have been out there fighting the PRCs, the property rights coalitions, and Secure Arkansas. None of those folks got any recognition for that. I don't think they even wanted recognition. It just would have been nice if the politicians didn't take credit for something that we brought to their table. I guess the biggest problem I had the other day was that it looked like those politicians were all taking credit for it, when quite frankly they should have been the ones calling us and saying, hey, citizens under my district, rise up, here's a problem. Instead, we were calling them up saying, are you guys going to help us? It's not really the role of government. They're supposed to be protecting us, not we demanding and crying out that we need protection, right? So America's Voice Now has had an impact. We've been on the air here for 2.5 some odd years. I don't even know. I don't count all that nonsense. All I care about is impact. And I think we've had that. I think that we have made a difference in this community. And it's for the better. I see Americans who are awake and aware that 6 months ago were not, that 12 months ago had no clue, that 18 months ago didn't know what was going on. And I've seen their awareness grow. Those who were 18 months ago were asleep, who are now awake, are activists, fighters, warriors for a republic. Those who woke up 12 months ago are warriors. Those who woke up 6 months ago are donning armor today to be our warriors today and tomorrow. That's the goal of AVN. That's the goal of what we want to accomplish. wakeful awareness and activity associated with that. It's not enough to know that it's going on and hide your head in the sand or pull the blankets up over your head while the boogeyman stalks your room. When you know, you fight. And that's what we are all about. I am grateful for so many people who have helped America's Voice with this program, too. Because there's no way that we could have done what we've accomplished without, dozens of people. This radio station in particular, and Mark Vail specifically. Mark, when he came over here and took over the station as the manager, this show was already going. And not one time did he ever say to me, you can't say that. I got to censor that. Never. Not one time. And I admire that and I respect that. And he has been a benefactor to our community by allowing, and look, I get it. I'm rough around the edges. I get it. I'm not some polished Rush Limbaugh. I'm not some trained journalist. I'm no Sean Hannity. I'm not even college educated. And I get the fact that, I break the rules of traditional radio hosts because I'm not polished. But I think we're at a point in time where we need that. We need people to just say it like it is. America is thirsting for truth, starving for the meat of truth. They're tired of being fed chalk. Mark was instrumental, and this station was instrumental. Diamond Media was instrumental in allowing that to happen for you. And I'm grateful and appreciative for that because, they could have stepped in and said, you can't say that, at which point the show would have ended. I'm not going to allow anybody to censor it. And frankly, I've talked to other stations we've talked to about, do they want to pick up the show or not? And there are some that are still uncommitted, but, those stations who have rejected the show have rejected it because I won't be censored. Because they know that the tone and the tenor of this show is not going to change. Not going to change tomorrow, and we will be streaming tomorrow. That it's not going to change next week. And that I'm not going to tolerate censorship. And Mark, we never even had the discussion. How's that? Never once did we have that discussion. I never had to put him on notice. Never had to say a word. He knew it. But the show has also been successful because of other people who you don't even know. You've never seen them. You've never met them. And some you have. You don't know who has supported this thing in a lot of ways. Materially, physically, spiritually, with their prayer. All of that matters. Ed, Fast Eddie, you've heard Fast Eddie on with me in the morning, he and his wife, Cassandra. They have been stalwart supporters of this program almost since day one. And they've supported it financially in ways I won't even tell you about. And these are folks of limited means. They've supported, Eddie comes here on a Saturday and spends time just watching my back. Physically. Mark is, I've asked Mark Vail to join us because I wanted him to understand the depth of appreciation that I have for what he's enabled AVN to do here.
Well, we've worked together on this. This was a joint project. We had the facility, and you had the talent, you had the drive, you had the passion, and you had the content. We were just the facilitator in putting you together with the audience. Now, before you jump in there, this is my time to talk. You shut up for a minute.
That's hard to do.
I shouldn't have said that because there's probably somebody behind me armed. Yep.
There is. There is.
No, I have always been a firm believer in local radio, and there's nothing more local than what we've been doing between 6 and 9 in the morning, and we were doing Cooper and Company on the 3 hours, and when we talked for 2-3 months, and you and I went back and forth about how much work is involved, and you said it's a piece of cake and all that, and you found out it was a little more than a piece of cake. And
boy, did I!
But we've had fun, and we've allowed the America's Voice Now to have an outlet. And I take absolutely zero credit for the success of America's Voice Now, other than we've been an outlet. And the one thing that KBMV has been, and this is the part that I want people to realize about the radio business, is that there's nothing that says, in my opinion, and this is just opinion, there's nothing more succinct and demonstrative of free speech than free over-the-air broadcast radio.
I absolutely agree.
And how I can say that is that every other type of communication, except word of mouth, there's a cost to it, to the end user.
Right.
And in free over-the-air radio and TV broadcasting, there is absolutely zero cost to the listener. In our case, it's advertiser supported. In our case, that's what also precipitated us having to sell, because we could not get the support of the business community. Either we didn't do a good enough job selling it, we didn't have the right combination, whatever the cause. But that's how we stay in business, is through advertising. But for the end user, for the listener, free over-the-air broadcast is still I think the biggest example of what you preach day in and day out, and that is
free speech.
Free speech.
You know, and the other aspect to it is that that's one of the reasons why this is the only medium whereby you can actually get truth, because 10,000 radio stations are owned by numerous, literally thousands of small operations that are many small businesses. These are small organizations. Many of them are mom and pop owned. And you know what? The federal government can't indoctrinate and herd all those cats at one time.
That's right.
They can do that when you got 6 or 8 big news organizations on television who own that network and that medium. They can't do it with radio.
Yeah, I don't know whether they are actually doing it. That you can make the argument both ways.
Oh, they're doing it.
But there's a all right. Well, like I said, I'm not going to argue the point one way or the other, because I think what you're doing and what we've been able to do with the Point in News Talk 107.1 is we've been a platform for the type of free speech that has brought more people together than it has driven from the station.
Agreed.
Now, and the fact that we couldn't turn it into a profitable venture, that's my fault.
Well, you exemplify, though, that concept of a small business organization who owns 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 stations.
Right.
And that's the point, is that, it's easy for them to apply pressure when you're a multi-billion-dollar organization, and they say, look, if you don't toe the line, we're going to do this or that, or censor you, or pull you off the air, or the FCC will whack you for a fine for every infraction. It's hard to do that for thousands of small radio operators.
That's right.
And that's where you get free speech, folks, because they cannot control all of them at once. Right. They can't herd all those cats.
Well, free speech is just that, and word of mouth is by far the most effective, and it's personal.
Sure.
And all radio is that
and
type,
it's local.
It's local, but one-on-one communication, word of mouth, is where it really that's where the rubber meets the road. And all radio is word of mouth on steroids.
Yep. Well,
it's no more complicated than that.
I personally want to thank you, because I think that you've exemplified what American small business is, and that is ingenuity and creativity and free enterprise and free speech and the ability to work together. In the case of AVN and KBMV, you've allowed me to be a voice out here in the wilderness for our listenership. And at the same point in time, hopefully we brought some value to the station by bringing listeners. And
absolutely,
that's good trade for value.
And I mean, when you get right down to it, when we decided this, I said, if I can pay you, I'll try. I haven't been able to. I haven't pulled a paycheck here since last October. You haven't pulled a paycheck from us, so it's really a shared effort here. And I hope
absolutely.
I hope you end up more successful than ever as you move forward. And I'm sorry for being late, but I was on the phone with one of your listeners wondering where the heck you were going. So,
Gotcha.
So,
well, thank you again
for
supporting this program and supporting me. And
congrats on the Blue Waves thing. You know, I've heard more people in this community say that if it hadn't been for your leadership, even though Mike Huckabee wants to take part of the credit, but you know, I know better than that. So, you know, it's
Mike who?
this was the catalyst, and you lit that flame, and you know, it's not going to go out as long as you've got a method of getting the word out.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you again.
All right.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Good luck. Keep me posted.
I sure will. All right. We'll be in touch.
Yep.
Thank you. You know, Mark and the team here, and there's a whole bunch of folks that work here at KBMV, and they have all helped because, you know, I'm not a radio host, and I'm not a technical guy in the radio business. I don't know all of the ins and outs of how to, you know, tweak this and work with that. You know, Cooper has been very, very instrumental in helping me understand and doing things like, you know, setting up commercials to play on the right time slots and stuff you guys don't even know about. Tammy is just been helping me do stuff like, okay, we got to take this and we got to fix it and cut this couple of seconds out of the end and fix this, clean this up or work on that. She has been extraordinarily instrumental in helping with that. And, you know, these guys they believe in the message that AVN has brought. And I've got to thank them. Steve Largent has been very helpful. This is a team of people that I'm proud to be associated with and I'm proud to know. And there are a raft of other folks that, you know, have really been instrumental in working with us. Dirk Shea. You know, Dirk has... I met Dirk when Bob Parker was running the first time at a Go Green Festival. And he was manning a little tent and handing out flyers and pamphlets and trifold brochures. And I walked up and I said, you know, I was looking for content, right? Who's this guy running for office? I didn't know who Bob Parker was. And I grabbed one of the flyers and I asked a couple of questions, and he said, this was a Saturday morning, and I'd just gotten off the air, and I went straight to Go Green Festival that Mike Slack puts on. And I said, or he said to me, are you that guy who just does a radio show, who just did a radio show? He recognized the voice, you know. And I said, yeah. And he said, oh, man, I was listening to you on the way down. He'd never heard the show before. He was all pumped up. Well, Dirk has been a loyal friend and a loyal patriot and has been enormously helpful to AVN since we've met. I mean, the guy works tirelessly to help with all kinds of things. He's booked guests to be on the show. He's helped with audio issues, video issues. He is just a patriot. He flies around on his own dime and his own time promoting AVN. And I got to tell you, there's not a guy who I know that has jumped up to the fore like Dirk out of the wild blue, so to speak, and stepped up to the plate to help AVN. And I'm proud to know him, and you should be too. The next time you see Dirk Shea, you walk up and shake his hand and say, thank you for what you've done for AVN. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to just kind of touch on a few other things. If you guys want to call in, you can do that. But if you'd like to join us, you can. We're going to meet at Skittles restaurant, Skillets, restaurant in an hour or so. Be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is
KBMV Birch Tree is the Ozarks best news talk, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Are you a loser? Well, you can be. Lose that unwanted weight and inches now with ACE's new all-natural weight loss supplement. Lose weight safely and effectively. Call now for a 14-day sample pack for only $14. Call 417-274-2918. That's 417-274-2918. Or visit moloser.com. That's MOloser.com.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Starting today, the sentencing phase for Private Bradley Manning, convicted of turning over government secrets to WikiLeaks. Meanwhile, the NSA's secret program getting more attention on Capitol Hill.
The Senate Judiciary Committee hearing will feature testimony from top officials at several intelligence-gathering interests, including the FBI and NSA. First time that lawmakers will question intelligence pros since the House barely rejected a proposal to shut down the NSA's mining of telephone metadata. A pending Senate bill would allow for phone record mining only when the government can prove the information is relevant to an authorized investigation.
Fox Radio's Rich Johnson. Our economy growing at a slightly stronger rate than expected in the second quarter.
Commerce Department says gross domestic product grew at 1.7%. This beats economists' expectation of a 1% pace.
Fox Biz Network's Jolene Kent. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Out of 365 days a year, we celebrate holidays, anniversaries, and other important days. But there is one day you look forward to, your birthday. I wanna wish you a happy birthday. Ryan's Steakhouse of West Plains is proud to bring you the Birthday Club weekday mornings with Cooper & Company. Our daily winner receives one buffet and a drink to Ryan.